home wellness, how to maximize downtime. I am here today with Dianne A. She's an intuitive mentor for visionary leaders. She is a mentor. She is also an author and a podcaster. And during this time, what we're going through, facing some significant downtime, there was no other better person for me to interview that could provide such wealth of information than Dianne. So I'm thankful that you're here today to be able to interview and share your knowledge. So thank you for being here today.
I'm so delighted to be here. It's nice that I'm actually in your town. I'm down here on a retreat, and it's nice that we had this time to connect and be able to just share some goodness out in the world. So thanks for inviting me on the show. This is so exciting.
Absolutely. One of the books that Dianne wrote was called Where Do You Fit In? Defining the Essential Gifts and Making Noise. And I butchered that title a little bit, but I think I got the important points there. So last week I had the flu, so I was down. I self-quarantined a week earlier than it seems like where other people are right now. And it was a very lonely and isolating time for me. Wanting to be out and helping other people as all of this news and everything was going on around me. I was stuck at home. I couldn't help people. Yes, I could pick up the phone and have conversations, but just because I'm more of a doer and wanted to be out and do things, it was a really tough and challenging time for me. So I do believe there are some benefits from having to take this time to take some downtime and rest and recover and regroup. But there's also people who want to go out and do things. And I think your book and defining those gifts will be essential. And if you can share a little bit about your book of Where Do I Fit In and how people can take that and use this time to find their gifts and then figure out a way to make some noise. So if you could share a little bit more about your book.
Sure. It's my latest book, and Where Do You Fit In came as the title because so many people that I work with are visionaries and they don't really feel like they fit in. So I said, okay, well, if we could say, what are your essential gifts and how can you bring them forward? You can feel like you fit in more, right? So what I did was I took the word essential and I made it a noun, just like the Incredibles, where the Incredibles each had their own little way, their own superpower, if you will. In my book, everybody has their own essential gift, and there's 5 essentials. And in those, there's different balances and mixes and things like that. But it's beginning to start seeing ourselves from our essential nature, our core nature, and realizing that we possess gifts that we don't even realize, we don't understand, or maybe we've just never paid attention. So I think this time where we're all being told to go within and be alone is not a time to freak out as much as it is a time to say, you know what, there's uncharted territory within me. And I have lots to explore and an abundance of time now to do it. So I think we can use it in that way. So the book came out last year. And before I knew any of these kinds of things were happening, because I really wanted to help people define who they were really internally and then make noise, bring it into the world. Because I think some of the greatest support for moving this world forward is hidden within people and they're not bringing it out. Either they're afraid to, they're not aware of it, or they're just kind of being selfish and not sharing. So the book came with that mission. And so now it's perfect now at this time. And we not only have this virus going around and the world being adjusted, but think about somebody who maybe had major surgery or they're laid up because they have a broken leg or something like that, where they are forced to be with themselves. And most people are uncomfortable with that because they never took the time to do the work. So the book can help them with that. And it'll be fun. So I'll tell you a couple of the essentials, but I'm not going to tell all 5. You can read the book if you want to read all 5 of them. There is the weaver, and the weaver is the person who's really good at taking all kinds of cool information and putting it together, exactly like it says, weaving it. Like I have that gift. I can listen to lots of different things and then be able to put it together in a way that the listener can understand it. And you see that a lot in people who are writers or whatever. You have that gift in real estate and helping somebody find their space. You have the gift of being able to hear what they say, understand kind of what that would look like, and weave together cognitive content, spiritual content, their emotional desires, and help kind of make a fabric that makes the outcome what the person was imagining, right? So that's where you use that gift in your great real estate. And then there's the creator. That's the person who's creating things, right? And so it can be any kind of creation. This podcast is a creation. It can be coloring. It can be all kinds of things, of letting that expressive juice out. And my theory is people who don't let that expressive juice out, they're the ones who are anxious and depressed and angry and upset, because there's something trying to emerge, and it's like, and they keep trying to stop it. And I just had a really not pretty visual, so we're going to cancel that out of my head. And so it keeps trying to emerge. It's really kind of funny. And when you don't let it come out, you get constipated. You don't feel very good. And you might even have indigestion or heart problems. So it's important to let your creative juices out. Then there's a harmonizer. My assistant's a harmonizer. These are the people with the most melodic, beautiful voices. One of my 16-year-old clients' mom is a harmonizer. And whenever I talk to her, I'm like, oh, because it just sounds so good. She could be saying anything. And she harmonizes in the way she impacts the world. The way she lands on the world is it helps bring harmony. And it's genius. And then, of course, there's the ballers. They're the ones who are out there doing stuff and pushing the envelope and having things move forward. That's like Steve Jobs and people like that are going for it. You know, when I think of baller, I think of Richard Branson. He's one of the happiest people. He's always serving others, always. And that's why he's so happy, because he's not self-centered. And a lot of people who get to that level, or not even close to that level of wealth and fame, become self-centered and greedy. And so there's a lot of spiritual work to do to stay that way. And so then there's other aspects in the book. And so it's all about how to find that gift in you and then how to bring it forward. You know it's your essential gift when it's easy.
Perfect. I love it. And so now is, the perfect time that we have to really dive deep and they can identify some of their gifts to help them process, I guess, what's going on and help them to be able to, I think so much we're innately contributors. We want to be able to give. So during this time, we have that time to really figure those things out and then still be able to connect with others. So one of my biggest fears through this isn't necessarily the virus, but just the fear and the panic that's going on, and then the isolation. So yes, we need that time to draw within, to become in alignment with ourselves, but then we also need that time to really kind of get out there, and not necessarily meaning like physically get out there, but really start to connect with others through this process. And something that you had shared earlier in that conversation is the Zoom teas. And I love that idea where, Zoom is, and there's a number of different services like Zoom, but being able to connect with others and you have a time that you can get together and be on Zoom and connect with others and have your tea. And that's one way to just be able to connect. But then noticing your gifts and being able to, when the time is right, being able to really utilize those and get out there. Something else, the isolation, and I hate this term, the social distancing. It's physical distancing, but we still need that social interaction. We still need to be able to connect with one another, because love and connection is just so vital to our health and to the liveliness. And right now, the entire world is going through the same thing. We're all going through this, and I really, truly believe that so much good can come from this, and it is going to unite us. It is going to bring together a community. And I love taking this opportunity to really kind of figure out those gifts so that we can bring this community together. But for those individuals who do feel isolated, one of the books that Dianne wrote also is The Loneliness Cure. So if you can share some tips for those people who do feel isolated during this time, what are some of the things that they can do?
Wow. Okay. The first thing is breathe. Air is your friend. I say that all the time to my people. Air is your friend. I say it to me because if ever we're holding our breath or we're breathing just really shallow, it means that we're disconnected somehow inside from who we truly are. And we can't go anywhere if we're not connected. We're good anyway. So the first thing is to breathe. And then the next thing is to realize that if you're feeling lonely, that's a spiritual issue. It's not a human issue. And we're taught in this society that loneliness means I don't have enough people around, and so we get needy and grabby on people. And this is a really great time to detox from the lie and begin to say it's a spiritual issue. And spiritual, I mean being connected to who I am, why I'm sucking air, what my purpose is on this planet. I don't mean religion, and I don't mean woo-woo things. I mean, like, do I know who I am and what I'm doing here? And how is this all, how is my life going to impact forever the world? Like Einstein said, everything affects everything. Everything affects everything. So everything you think, everything you say, everything you do affects everything to the end of the universe. So it's important what our mindset is. It's important that we realize that, yes, we might be humanly in our own space, but that does not mean we're not impacting and affecting the world, because in fact we are. And to really get clear about the fact that oh, poor pitiful me, I'm lonely, I don't know what to do, I'm bored, is selfish. Now, the feeling's valid, and it needs to be expressed and heard and moved through, not pushed down. That causes more problem, and not held onto like a badge of honor, which a lot of people do, because that's what we're trained in this society, and we've been trained wrong. So we all said it's time to wake up, start doing it differently. So that's like right out of the gate, the first two big things, and to realize, what am I doing here? Like, really, what are you doing? What are you doing here on earth? I don't mean here, on earth. What are you doing? Are you bringing goodness and compassion and kindness and love? Or something else? You get to pick.
Can you provide some tips for somebody who's really kind of digging, like doesn't know what is my purpose? How do I figure that out? What do I do? I want to be doing something. I know I'm here for a reason, but I don't know what I'm here for. So can you share a little bit of insight on how they can identify what their purpose is?
Yes. There's lots of ways, but there's an easy way. And especially if you're kind of like on your own doing it alone, like I lead people through this a lot with some meditations and things when they're with me and working with me. But if you're like there by yourself and you're going, how do I do that? I say, get out a piece of paper and a pen, and then just kind of close your eyes mostly, kind of let yourself get a little fuzzy, and then just kind of free flow, write for a little while, whatever comes out, let it come out, and put it down. Don't reread it. And then look at it again the next day, because when the brain has a chance to process it all, more might come out. But the real fun one to do is to look back on your life and say, with a curious mind, got to be curious. What did I do when I was 5? What did I like? And then that what you like may not be what you were able to do either. Like you could have really liked something and your family couldn't afford it, or it got poo-pooed, or you had siblings that made fun of you, so you shut it down. But what turned you on? What did you really like when you were 5? And then ask the question again, from what did I like when I was 10? And then what did I like when I was 16, 17, like that getting out of high school time? What did I like when I was 21? And if you're older than 32, what did you like when you turned 30? And if you look at those, you will see a thread. Every time there's a thread. It may not be the same content, but it's the same underlying expression. Like the lowest common denominator will be the same for sure. And it's kind of like people who say, Nina, I'm reinventing myself. And I laugh because we can't reinvent what's already been invented. That's goofy. What they're saying, more precisely, is I'm bringing my essential gift out in a different way. That's not a reinvention. It's a different expression. And by doing this, looking at 5, 10, 16, 21, 30, you're able to see, like, how is it going to show up? Like, I'm an educator, and I've owned a preschool. I've helped teachers in different ways. I've run rehab centers. I've worked in mental health, and now I mentor visionary people. See the thread? Mm-hmm. It's always been the same thread. It looked different in different ways. So when people say, oh, you reinvented yourself, I'm like, well, no, not actually. As I grow and I change and I evolve, then the way I express my gift changes and evolves naturally, right? So, and that's where it's fun to dig deep and say, what cool way can I bring it out? And no, it's always going to keep shifting and changing. So it's always to me, it's an exciting adventure. Like, what's going to happen next?
I love the story that you've told me in regards to you're a creator, and you had a 3rd grade teacher who told you that you couldn't do, you weren't creative. So can you share that story with us? Because I think many of us can relate, including myself.
Oh, yes. I look back on how long I carried that pain, and sometimes I'm like, I wish there was a mentor around to show me out, but that's okay. I was in 3rd grade. I was very introverted and very shy because my home life, I wouldn't say it was toxic at that point yet, though it was headed there. But I took in all the energy and sensitivity. I had no idea what being an empath was. I had no idea what an introvert was. I had no idea. And my mom, who was a genius, just kept saying, well, you'll learn, honey, you'll learn, honey. And that was great, but I didn't know what she was talking about. And I love her. And so, but now I understand the power of talking to somebody at their own age. So anyway, I was in 3rd grade and we had some art project. Don't remember the art project, but I know drawing was involved. And my mom was a great natural artist. Not only was she a pianist, but she could draw like no other. And I was supposed to draw something and I didn't do it very well. And the teacher, who I really liked, told me that I had no creative ability and that I would never be able to create anything. And she went on and on and on, out in front of the class. And I just sunk inside. It was terrible. And I sunk and I cried inside, but I didn't let anybody see it because, I couldn't do that. And I never told anyone. I never told my mom. I never told anybody. I just sucked that energy in as a truth about me because my teacher that I revered said it. And I don't know if she meant it as a truth about me or not, but that's how I interpreted it, right? And I didn't know to say it to my parents. It never occurred to me. I have a lot of naivete. And so I carried this belief that I couldn't create anything for many, many years. And then actually, it kind of started breaking down. It was kind of funny when I told somebody who was my assistant at a facility I was running, and he was amazing. And I said, I can't sell anything. I'm not creative. I don't have that skill. You have that skill. I don't have that skill. And he laughed so loud it jolted me out of the trance. And then said, that's not true. You sell a lifestyle to people that they don't even want. And so you have the creative ability. And it kind of jolted me out of this many-decade trance. It was a lie that was interpreted because people don't realize what they say to small children really affects us, affects all humans. And so that was the beginning of the breakout. And then I had another group I was running in a different rehab, and the group themselves would just say stuff about my creativity. And I told them this story, and I thought they were going to bust a gut laughing. And they're like, really? I go, yes. We all have a journey. We all have healing. We all have places where there's disconnection that we're invited to look at and heal it. And so healing means to reconnect. So now, as we all know, I am a creator and I love to create. I quilt, I sew, I knit blessing scarves so people can feel hugged and loved. I have 3 podcasts, 7 books out, and I love to create. So now it's all bets are off. And I had to be willing to look at that disconnection, that pain that was from a long time ago in order to allow all this creation to come forward.
And I love how you then were able to look back on your life at the different points in your life to be like, oh, I did this, this, and this. I was creating all of my life. I just didn't recognize it as creative.
Right. Because most people think creators are artists and I can't paint. I mean, I can paint, but it doesn't have much talent to it. So I can, though I have a steady enough hand, I could, if I was painting your wall, I could trim it all out without tape and it'd be perfectly straight. That's a great gift too, right? But I can't, no. And so I thought that's all it was. And people sometimes think that, well, if you're a really good cook, you're creating.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
So
there's gardening, cooking, art, all kinds of things
right.
of creation. And you were telling me about the author who wrote the book during quarantine.
Oh, yes, Shakespeare, my buddy. I love Shakespeare, by the way. And Shakespeare was quarantined, and they didn't have social media or electronics or any of this stuff. And guess what Shakespeare did?
He wrote a book.
He wrote King Lear. He wrote one of his better plays during a quarantine time. So I'm wondering what I'm going to create. Well, probably another book, and maybe I'll add to all my podcasts. And it'll be fun because I'll have uninterrupted time.
Yeah.
Yes.
So many amazing things are brewing. They're coming out during this time. So it'll be exciting to see what comes from this and what all happens and what everybody's able to create and do and how our community is going to come together. Mm-hmm. So Dianne has 3 podcasts. One is Someone Gets Me. Mm-hmm. One is Sailing Legends. Mm-hmm. And the third one is Meditation for Visionary Leaders.
Correct.
And then she's got several books. Where Do I Fit In? Daily Meditations for Visionary Leaders, which is her top seller. Mm-hmm. Hope Realized. The Loneliness Cure. She's got a couple others. So definitely check her out. She is such a wealth of information, and thank you so much for sharing so much valuable information that can be used during this time. And really any time, because there's, as you mentioned, there's so many other circumstances for individuals having downtime. So while you're at home, take some of her tips and go out there and get in alignment with yourself, and then go make some noise. Thanks, Dianne.
You're welcome. And make some noise from a place of compassion, love, and kindness. I really want to encourage all of us to make our noise from a higher vibration, a higher perspective, instead of getting trapped in the freak out panic, because that doesn't serve any of us, right? That's why you're doing this podcast. That's why you're doing the work you're doing. And that's why I do the work I'm doing. Is it's time to make noise from a place of empowerment and love and kindness, like the higher things, instead of all the needy, clingy things. So, listen to Nina and go do that. Live vibrantly, right?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dianne.
You're welcome.
She's amazing.